So, we've gotten a few comments asking, and I'm here to deliver the goods. You should know that whenever I consider what is or isn't the best loadout for Destiny, I measure a build not on creativity or raw damage, but how it scales. I care about how effective it is from the lowest end of content to the highest. I want a single loadout that can be brought from activity to activity with as little changes as possible. For example, the loadout I'm about to explain to you worked great in the Prophecy dungeon in a fire team. It does not work great for the solo experience while at level, but that's a niche deviation from standard play, and I was still the most effective fire team member in our run. Probably because I'm 1060, but whatever, don't at me. I measure loadouts like this because I honestly don't care much for the RNG part of Destiny, and I care more about the aspirational challenges. I want a deep toolkit for tackling as many problems as possible, but I'd rather be spending more time tackling those problems than building the toolkit, especially since sunsetting will ruin all of our lives come September. This is why Eriana's Vow currently is the best exotic in the game. High ammo capacity, competitive DPS, and intense efficiency with various builds. Many exotics are better than Eriana's in particular use cases. For example, you shouldn't use Eriana's during Garden of Salvation's final boss fight. It's absolutely fantastic during the rest of the raid, especially against Angelics, but during the final boss fight there are superior builds. But that's the rub. Eriana's Vow is a strong choice for most of the raid, up until a niche encounter that was basically designed to punish you for using anything but the best niche weapons. Most of Destiny is a single nail. Sometimes it's a screw, sometimes it's a wall, but most of Destiny is a nail. For Season of the Arrival, here's the hammer. This season's artifact gave us unstoppable hand cannon rounds, enhanced Sword Scavenger, Void Overload Grenades, and Oppressive Darkness. This creates the absolute best variant of the Contraverse Holds builds that we'll ever see, perhaps in our lifetimes. Start with Warlock and Void Top-Tree. Titan can pull this off too if they're middle tree, though I prefer how Vortex Grenades perform against bosses. Your exotics of choice are Eriana's Vow and Contraverse Holds, as usual. My Kinetic of choice will always be whatever can give me unstoppable rounds for the season, since they have strong utility outside champions and staggering enemies. And the good news is that this is going to be my Austringer, giving me one last hurrah before, for the sake of balance, my obscenely broken Austringer is replaced with an old-fashioned. Our armor gives us 100 discipline, lending us infinite void grenades, and with Eriana's Vow, all we need is an arc heavy to become match game proof. My three recommendations are Wendigo GL3, the Delirium 21%, or Temptation's Hook, as all provide their own unique engagement options. I personally have been using mostly Temptation's Hook to make the most out of enhanced Sword Scavenger, as well as the caster frame's ability to engage from a medium distance, with my second choice being Wendigo GL3 for the burst damage potential. And boom! We are now match game proof, which means we can engage effectively in any content that has shielded enemies. You know, all of Destiny. Next is being champion proof. Usually this hasn't mattered before. All encounters with champions before Season 11 have had barrier champions somewhere in the mix where Eriana's Vow is at her most useful, but with Taken champions being Overload and Unstoppable, things are different. Also, last season had the Overload Sword mod, which let any subclass easily become champion proof, but for right now we'll need to rely on those Overload Void Grenades to bridge the gap. This is where being a Warlock shines the most. I mentioned that this build works for Titan Middle Tree Sentinel, but that class only procs infinite grenades when there are explicitly many adds around to take the hits. Warlock only needs the damage, which lets them toss against solo bosses. By the time the Vortex Grenade runs out against the boss, you have another. Granted, the Titan Super is more useful, but I'll always trade away a top tier super for top tier neutral game. Finally, we get one last gift for this build. Oppressive Darkness. Normally, you'd run 2 enhanced Ashes to assets on this build in order to quickly build super energy to blast away with. This is particularly effective in Gambit Prime, getting you your super sometimes by the second wave. However, Oppressive Darkness, a mod that should have never been reissued considering this very build, lets us trade away super for extreme boss DPS potential, and where I'd make a true heavy recommendation for Temptation's Hook. Having a weakening effect on demand is actually nuts, and will be the difference when trying to solo various bosses and challenges. My eternal quest in Destiny 2 is to be self-reliant, the only hammer a fireteam needs to succeed. Oppressive Darkness is the final key to that puzzle. It's a mistake of a mod, let's be real here, folks. Beyond that, I went the extra mile with my armor. After using 2 slots on discipline mods to reach the coveted 100, I burned the rest on minor, major, and boss resist, boosting defensiveness. My headpiece is now an arc helmet, letting me run double sword ammo finder to combine with enhanced sword scavenger, where normally I use special ammo finder to get more Eriana's ammo. However, this frees up the space I need to run Taken armaments on my headpiece, which lets me set up a build with both Taken and Hive armaments and barrier. I feed myself special ammo with special ammo finisher on my bond. You should know that for Taken, for the purposes of these mods, they count as both Taken and whatever race they once were, which is to say that if you kill a Taken Hive Acolyte or a Taken Hive Knight with a grenade, both Taken and Hive armaments will proc, giving you double ammo. I believe this also works for barrier. But also, this season is all about both Taken and the Hive, so even when you're not facing Taken, having these mods equipped will prove invaluable for all the predicted story beats this season. And that's my best PvE loadout for Season of the Arrival. Match game proof, champion proof, boss proof, story proof. It's the goddamn hammer. As for those of you who commented asking about Warmind cell builds, I'll let you know that I'm still messing around with setups. This season we no longer have an artifact mod that allows for easy spawning of Warmind cells, which means they become less reliable. However, the Akelos weapons now spawn them just like Seraph weapons, which offer possibilities in build choices. For our first Grandmaster Nightfall, I'm going to try using Contraverse Warlock for the Overload Oppressive Grenades, but because there are no barrier champions, I'm going to rock my prediction for the meta of Grandmaster Nightfalls. Outbreak Perfected. It proved invaluable during the Crown of Sorrows contest raid, and as Nightfall bosses have similar DPS windows, a full fire team rocking the primary will probably be the most reliable DPS option. The Unstoppable Pulse Rifle R mod will free me from having to bring a second primary so long as I'm Voidlock, which means I get to bring in that Akelos sniper rifle from year 1. The static roll comes with triple tap and box breathing, both of which have utility in underleveled aspirational challenges. But also, she's a solar weapon, which means that when combined with the 7th Seraph Saw I got last season, we get to continue to be match game proof while generating as many Warmind cells as possible. My plan is to continue to rock cellular suppression and global reach, as they prove the most useful in creating escape routes during the boss fights, but I'm giving up grasp of the Warmind because I don't feel my long range loadout will get the most of that during boss fights, and thus Power of Rasputin will be unreliable. Instead, we're using a couple charge with light mods, high energy fire and taking charge, in order to boost DPS against the boss. We'll also be using the new artifact mod, counter charge, which gives everyone 1 charge whenever we do anything against a champion, which combined with high energy fire boosts our DPS against every champion as we engage with them. Overload champions are actually fucked. Lucent Blade is a mod I'd like to get more use out of, but without passive guard I don't feel safe even thinking about bringing a sword into Grandmaster Nightfalls. Perhaps a build with the Prophecy Dungeon, but I still gotta get the normal solo clear before I get the flex clear. And that's it. That's all I got for you for recommendations this season. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll try and get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and especially subscribe. Follow me on the social media if you feel generous, and hopefully I will see you next time.